Welcome to the 22nd edition of Nakshebaazi. We have been taking up a lot of issues and we have been, broadly going chronologically, if you have noticed. Now we are at this juncture when the late medieval period and early modern period are overlapping. This is where Europe and India, the subcontinent, is interacting, and their interaction is going to grow exponentially from this point onwards. This is the era of modern history now. So keeping that in mind, I intend to give you a very broad overview of what is going on in the entire world at around 1700. And once we have seen it, once we have understood that, we would in further lecture proceed towards slightly more micro topics as well. For example, the next series, right, the next episode would be on the history of Marathas, how they become a power under Shivaji. But for now, for this episode, we are going to focus on the scenario of the world in year around 1700, 18th century, early. Right? How was the world shaping up? Who were the key players? What was it like to be in Europe, and what was it like to be in India? These are few dimensions which I intend to cover. This is the map of the world, entire world, in year 1700. I would advise you to initially focus upon Europe. We can look at this map of Europe actually. I have a different map of Europe as well. This is how Europe looks like. Look at the major powers. France. One second. Look at the major powers here. France is one big power. So is England. England. Right from around 1700, they start undergoing agricultural revolution, which will soon be followed by industrial revolution. And it will have a huge implication. Its implications are still unfolding. Right? France, of course, France is going to undergo the French Revolution. Right? This is France present here. Notice Spain and Portugal. These are your Iberian colonial powers. Spain and Portugal. They have developed massive colonial empires. They have developed massive colonial empires, especially in the Americas. Especially in the Americas. I'll show you the map of Americas. One second. These are the 13 colonies which the Englishmen held. They will undergo a revolution in 1760s and become the United States of America. Also notice the viceroyalty of Spain. France and Britain are fighting over here. The blue one is a French territory and the pink one is British territory at this point in 1700. Right? This is how it stood. Notice South America. This entire thing is Spanish colony. This entire region is Spanish colony. Do you notice? Viceroyalty of Peru, Viceroyalty of New Spain. And notice this green region. This is Brazilian holdings. This is Portuguese holding the Brazilian land, I should say. The Portuguese holding the Brazilian land. Africa, most of the presence, colonial presence, was on the coast only. And when we come to Asia, this is how, of course, the things stood here. We have already covered these empires: Ottomans, Safavid, and the Mughals. This is the last empire, last Chinese empire, Qin Empire. They will be dissolved in 1912. Notice where you will know, if you look at the modern map, of, let's say, Europe, you will notice Germany and Italy present here. But right now, there was no such regions. In fact, you will find out that there are a plethora of small little states. All had simply one thing in common. In this region, they all spoke Germanic. Here, they spoke dialects of Italic. But they were not nations, so to speak. Linguistic-based nationalism was yet to emerge in these regions. France and Britain took the lead there, and America. Right? And Haiti. So if you see, this is pretty much the map I would like you to focus upon here, right? We must remember how Vasco da Gama had came this way and went all the way to our western coast. Isn't it? We should also remember how Columbus and all, they had gone on and discovered Cuba. And the other Americas were gradually discovered. The Portuguese and the Spaniards, they were the early colonial empires. They had the Roman Church. Okay, as I was explaining to you, right, these early discoveries led to something which is called as the Treaty of Torres, Salas. Right, in 1490s, this Treaty of Torres, Salas was signed, and it was decided that the land in east and west will be divided between Spain and Portugal. This is why Portugal got all this region. And Portuguese, they started coming in and building their settlements here. They captured Goa, Daman, Diu. They were going pretty strong, but they had a very bad habit of religious persecution. They were very aggressive proselytizers. And as a result, they were not able to become very successful. And soon, their plans were stolen. All the travel plans, their travel route plans, etc. were stolen by a Dutch. And a book was released, and now everybody knew their secret, and a lot of people started coming into India. A new route had been discovered. But this completely changed the game now. These three empires, Ottomans, Safavid, Mughals, they were somewhere. They were Islamic, all three of them. And they were dominating the entire trade between West and East. But now there was one more way to reach here. This recalibrated the entire economic, trade routes or economic balance, whatever you want to call it, right? It shifted majorly now. Although I must also admit that I have also studied that the importance of this route continued for a long while. It continued for a long while. So now under industrialization, rapid industrialization noticeable here in England, what will happen is uh, England and gradually your France, they will start taking over. They will start taking over. They will become the next set of aggressive colonizers. They will take the mantle away. Colonization takes place in phases, waves. So the first wave was dominated by Portugal and Spain. It is the second wave in which, people such as your Englishmen, the Frenchmen, they participated. And the third wave will also come in 1880s. That is when Germany, Italy, America, all of them will participate in this mad rush for colonies. Right? So these are certain general thoughts that I want you guys to know about the world as we proceed in the world history. Right? Of course, France is going to undergo a major change. Politically, it will change the dynamics everywhere. Initially, what will happen? Dekho bachche, Englishmen, as I was telling you, England had managed to capture 13 these colonies on the eastern coast. This huge tract of land was French. They were consistently fighting here. There were a lot of Englishmen here. Gradually, Frenchmen were defeated. There were several Anglo-French Wars in 18th century. They, in Indian context, will be known as Carnatic Wars. Right? So Anglo-French Wars will take place. Anglo-Gaul or Anglo-French Wars will take place here. Power of Austro-Hungarians and Spain and Portugal will decline while these two people will start emerging as a major power. France is a very large country. If you look at the entire Europe, France is a very large country in terms of area, in terms of productive land, in a lot many ways, right? It's quite an important area. Fertile as well, right? So, these 13 colonies will gradually declare independence from their mother country. They will say, you know what, France has been defeated, so we do not need you, get out of here. And they will have the same kind of enlightenment ideas. Remember, they have also undergone enlightenment. The Europe, this region, they have also started talking in the terms of Rousseau. They've also started talking in the terms of John Locke. Right? And such greats have already been there, and they've written their works and people have read them. And they have started questioning. They've started questioning the role of church. And more importantly for us, they have started questioning the role of the state. They have rejected the divine theory of, legitimacy for state. And they have said that the state is supposed to have a specific role in the society. A society which is based on social contract. Right? A contract. Ankit, a very wonderful fellow. He teaches polity here at Edukemy, right? He was just sharing his thought about, Rousseau with me. And beautiful. I would love you to listen to it from his own mouth. I'm sure he would talk about it in one of his videos. right? But one hint which I can give you is that the word contract in physics, it means to, it's opposite of expand. Now think about it. Why Rousseau chose this word? Beautiful. Social contract. Why is it called a contract? Right? Because somewhere it limits your free will. Somewhere it limits your free will. Right? So anyway, so social contract, the idea is that, state is not above everybody else. No, they are supposed to deliver on certain counts. John Locke said that their state is here to preserve your natural laws. And if they're not being able to do it, please kick them out by all means. So these guys, they got influenced by the same ideas and they kicked them out. But this did not have a huge influence. But then soon, France saw a revolution. The king was beheaded. Right? And that created a political revolution. Just like an industrial revolution began here in England, which redefined the economic landscape. Similarly, a political revolution took place here in France, which redefined the political landscape for coming generation. Eric Hobsbawm, a very, very wonderful historian of our times, he describes it beautifully. He says, you can actually imagine this by thinking about England and France as simply two volcanoes side by side, who erupted almost parallelly. And they changed the world order for better, for worse. I don't know, man. I really don't know. I'm yet to make up my mind. Let me know if you have already made up your mind. I would love to listen. God bless you. Have fun. As always, this is beautiful. For the next lecture, I must tell you, we are pretty excited about it. It's about the history of Marathas. It's about history of Marathas, and we have a couple of subject matter experts here as well, right? And I'm sure it will be a wonderful, wonderful thing to watch. All right. So do wait for it. I'll see you around. God bless you. Have fun. Bye.